Jazz. The night I discovered my husband's secret, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even wake him up. I simply stared at the message on his phone and felt something inside me go completely silent. Jazz. It was 2:17 in the morning. My husband Daniel was sleeping beside me. His breathing was slow and peaceful, completely unaware that the life he had built behind my back was beginning to fall apart. Jazz. I was lying on my side, facing away from him, trying to sleep, but something had woken me. Maybe it was the sound of his phone vibrating, maybe it was instinct, or maybe, after 8 years of marriage, Jazz. A wife simply knows when something isn't right. The phone vibrated again. Daniel didn't move. I opened my eyes. Jazz. The room was dark, except for the faint light coming through the curtains from the street outside. I turned my head toward him. He was still asleep. His phone was on the nightstand. Another vibration. Jazz. I reached for it. I wasn't trying to invade his privacy. At least, that's what I told myself. But when I picked up that phone, I saw a message on the screen. Jazz. And the moment I read it, Abby knew my marriage had been a lie. The message said, "Don't worry. Once she signs the papers, everything will finally be ours." My heart stopped for several seconds. Jazz. I couldn't breathe. I read it again. Then again, once she signs the papers. Who was she? What papers? And what did they mean by everything will finally be ours? My fingers were trembling. Jazz. I slowly unlocked the phone. Daniel had never given me his password. But I knew it. 8 years together teaches you things as. You know your partner's habits. You know their favorite food. Jazz. You know how they take their coffee. You know the password they use when they think nobody is watching. I entered it. The phone unlocked. And that's when I saw her name, Sarah. My best friend. Jazz. I felt the room spinning. Sarah had been in my life for almost 15 years. She had been there when Daniel and I got married. She had stood beside me at our wedding. Jazz. She had held my hand when my mother passed away. She had cried with me. She had laughed with me. She had sat at my kitchen table and told me, again and again, Jazz, how lucky I was to have a husband like Daniel. And now, she was the woman messaging my husband at 2 in the morning. I opened their conversation. The first few messages looked innocent. Too innocent. Jazz. That's what made them terrifying. Are you sure she's going to sign? Daniel had replied, she will. Sarah. And what about the house? Daniel. The house will be mine. Then Sarah wrote, Jazz. And after that? There was a long pause between the messages. Then Daniel replied, after that, I can finally start the life I was supposed to have. I stared at those words. Jazz. I could hear my own heartbeat. The life he was supposed to have. What did that mean? Was our marriage a mistake? Was I the mistake? I scrolled higher. There were hundreds of messages. Jazz. Some had been deleted. Some conversations were missing. But there were enough left to understand something. This wasn't new. This had been happening for months, maybe years. I kept scrolling. Jazz. Then I saw something that made my entire body go cold. A photograph. It was a picture of Daniel and Sarah. Together, at a restaurant. They were smiling. Her head was resting against his shoulder. Jazz. And Daniel was looking at her the way he used to look at me. I zoomed in. Then I noticed the date. The picture had been taken 9 months earlier. 9 months. Jazz. That was the same week I had been visiting my father in another city because he was sick. Daniel had told me he couldn't come with me because of work. He had said he was too busy. Jazz. He had said he was sorry. I remembered that trip. I remembered sitting alone in a hospital room. I remembered calling Daniel late at night. He hadn't answered. Jazz. I remembered feeling guilty for being upset with him. I had actually apologized to him. I had said, I'm sorry I'm asking so much of you. I know work is stressful. My stomach turned. Jazz. He hadn't been working. He had been with her. I looked at the man sleeping beside me. My husband. The man I had trusted with everything. I wanted to wake him. I wanted to throw the phone at him. I wanted to scream. But then I saw another message, and this one changed everything. It was from Daniel. "She still doesn't suspect anything," Sarah replied. "Good. Keep acting normal, Jazz." I stared at the screen, then another message appeared. "The divorce papers are ready." My hands went numb. Divorce. They were planning to divorce me. But why? I had never cheated on him, Jazz. I had never betrayed him. I had spent 8 years building our life together. I had supported him when he lost his job. I had helped him start his business, Jazz. I had sold my grandmother's jewelry to help him pay off his debts. And now he was secretly planning to leave me. But something didn't make sense. Why did they need me to sign papers, Jazz? And why was Sarah asking about the house? I scrolled further, then I found it. A document, a photograph of a legal paper. I didn't understand everything written on it, but I understood one thing, Jazz. My name was on it, so was Daniel's, and at the bottom, there was a section about our house. My house, the house my mother had left me, the house Daniel had moved into after we got married, Jazz. The house I had always believed belonged to both of us, but apparently Abby had been wrong. I read the message beneath the photograph. "Once she signs, we get everything. Everything, Jazz." I looked at Daniel again, and suddenly, the betrayal felt different. This wasn't just about another woman. This wasn't just about a broken marriage. This was a plan, a carefully designed plan, Jazz. And I was the only person who didn't know about it. At least, that's what they thought. I slowly placed the phone back on the nightstand. Then I turned away from Daniel, Jazz. I pulled the blanket over my shoulder, and I closed my eyes. I didn't sleep, I couldn't. I spent the rest of the night staring into the darkness, thinking, remembering every strange moment, Jazz. Every late night, every unexplained expense. Every time Daniel had told me I was imagining things. And then I remembered something. Something I had completely forgotten 3 months earlier, Jazz. Daniel had asked me an unusual question. We were sitting at the kitchen table. He had been drinking coffee. I was sorting through some bills. He had casually asked, "If something happened to us, Jazz, what would happen to the house?" I had looked at him. "What do you mean?" He had smiled. "Nothing. I was just wondering." At the time I hadn't thought anything of it. Now AB understood, Jazz. He had been testing me, trying to find out what I knew, trying to understand what I would do if he left. I felt tears gathering in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not yet, Jazz. Because something else had started to grow inside me. Something stronger than sadness, something colder. I opened my eyes. The room was still dark. Daniel was still sleeping, Jazz. And for the first time in 8 years, Abby looked at my husband and didn't see the man I married. I saw a stranger who believed he had already won, Jazz. And that's when I made the most important decision of my life. I wasn't going to confront him. Not tonight, not tomorrow, not until I knew everything, Jazz. Because if Daniel was planning something, Abby wanted to know exactly what it was. I wanted to know how long it had been happening. I wanted to know what Sarah had to do with it, Jazz. And most importantly, Abby wanted to know why they were so certain I would sign those papers. So I decided to do something Daniel never expected. I would pretend I knew nothing. The next morning, Jazz, when Daniel woke up, I was already in the kitchen. I was making coffee, just like every other morning. He walked into the kitchen wearing his usual shirt and tie. He kissed my forehead. "Good morning, sweetheart." I smiled. "Good morning." He sat down. I placed his coffee in front of him. "You didn't sleep well," he said. My heart jumped. For one terrifying second I thought he knew. I looked at him, gagged. "Why do you say that?" He shrugged. "You were moving around a lot lately." "I had a strange dream." Daniel laughed. "What kind of dream?" I looked directly into his eyes. Jazz. I dreamed someone I trusted was lying to me. His smile disappeared, only for a second, but I saw it, then he laughed again. That's a weird dream. I took a sip of coffee. Very weird, Jazz. And then I smiled. That was the moment my silent revenge began. Daniel had no idea. Sarah had no idea. Nobody knew. But I had made a decision. I would let them continue their plan. Jazz. I would let them believe I was still the same trusting wife who knew nothing. I would let Daniel come home every night and lie to my face. Jazz. And while he thought he was preparing to take everything from me, AB would quietly prepare to take back my life. But I didn't know something yet. Jazz. I didn't know that the message I had discovered that night was only the beginning, because 3 days later, AB would discover a secret that would make Daniel's betrayal look small. Jazz. And this time, secret wouldn't come from his phone. It would come from someone I never expected, someone who had been watching Daniel for months, someone who knew exactly what he was planning. Jazz. And when that person finally told me the truth, AB realized that my husband wasn't just planning to leave me. He had been preparing for something much bigger. 3 days after I discovered the message, Jazz, I became a different woman. At least, that's how it felt inside. On the outside, I was still the same wife. I still woke up before Daniel. I still made his coffee. I still asked him how his day was. Jazz. I still smiled when he came home. But inside, AB was watching, listening. Remembering every little thing Daniel did suddenly had meaning. Every phone call, every late night, every excuse. Jazz. Every time he turned his phone face down, I noticed everything. And the strange thing was, Daniel seemed happier than ever. That should have hurt me. Maybe it did. Jazz. But there was something else growing inside me. Certainty. For years, I had blamed myself whenever something felt wrong in our marriage. If Daniel came home late, I told myself he was tired. Jazz. If he didn't answer my calls, I told myself he was busy. If he seemed distant, I told myself he was under pressure. I had spent years explaining away his behavior. Jazz. Because believing my husband was good was easier than accepting the possibility that he wasn't. But now I knew. And once you know the truth, you can't unknow it. That Thursday morning, Jazz, Daniel stood in front of the mirror fixing his tie. I was sitting on the edge of our bed. "You look nice," I said. He smiled at his reflection. "Big meeting," I nodded. "Another late night, Jazz?" His hand stopped only for a moment, then he continued adjusting his tie. "Probably. Should I wait for you for dinner?" He looked at me. "Don't wait." That was new. Daniel always wanted me to wait. Jazz. Even when he was late, even when dinner got cold. He used to say he loved coming home knowing I was there. Now he didn't want me waiting. I smiled. "Okay." He walked toward the door. Then he turned around. "Hey, yes? If I don't answer my phone today, don't worry." I stared at him. "Why wouldn't you answer?" He shrugged. "Busy day." There it was again. That strange feeling. Jazz. That tiny crack in his story. I nodded. "Okay." He left the front door closed. I waited 10 seconds. 20, then I walked to the window. I watched his car leave the driveway. Jazz. I waited until it disappeared. Then I went upstairs. I opened the drawer beside our bed. Inside was a small notebook. I had bought it the day after I discovered the message. On the first page, Jazz. I had written one sentence. "Don't trust your memory. Write everything down." Underneath I wrote, "Thursday. Daniel said he had a big meeting. Told me not to wait for dinner. Jazz. Said he might not answer his phone." Then I closed the notebook. I didn't know where this would lead, but I knew I couldn't rely on emotions. If I wanted the truth, I needed facts. That afternoon, Jazz, I called my friend Lisa, not Sarah. Never Sarah. Lisa was someone I had known for years, but we weren't as close. That was exactly why I trusted her. I asked her to meet me at a small cafe across town. Jazz. When she arrived, she immediately knew something was wrong. What's happened? I looked around. I need to ask you something. She sat down. Okay. I lowered my voice. Jazz, have you noticed anything strange about Daniel? Lisa's expression changed. Not dramatically, just enough I noticed. What do you mean? Anything. His behavior, his work, anything. She looked away. Use. Why are you asking me? I stared at her. Because I think my husband is hiding something. There was silence. Then Lisa whispered, I knew it. My heart dropped. You knew what? She looked at me. Jazz, I knew something was wrong. Since when? Lisa hesitated. A few months. My hands tightened around my coffee cup. Why didn't you tell me? She looked ashamed because I wasn't sure, you see. Lisa leaned forward. I saw Daniel with Sarah. I already knew, but hearing someone else say it made the pain feel real again. Where? A hotel. The word hit me like a slap. Jazz. I couldn't speak. Lisa quickly added, I don't know if they were staying there. I didn't see them go inside together. But I saw them in the parking lot. When? About 4 months ago. 4 months. I had to breathe. Are you sure it was them? Lisa nodded. I'm sure. I looked down. 4 months ago. That was before I discovered the messages, before the divorce papers. Jazz. Before I even suspected anything, I had been living normally, cooking dinner, planning vacations, talking about the future, while my husband was meeting my best friend in hotel parking lots. Jazz. Lisa reached across the table. I'm sorry. I pulled my hand away. Don't. She stopped. I wasn't angry with her. I was angry with myself, because suddenly I remembered that week. Jazz. Daniel had told me he had a business trip. He had left on a Friday morning. He returned Sunday afternoon. I remembered hugging him at the door. I remembered saying, I missed you. And he had kissed me. He closed my eyes. I asked him where he was. Lisa didn't speak. He told me he was in another city. My voice cracked. He lied. Lisa nodded. I'm afraid there's more. I looked at her. What do you mean? She took a breath. A few weeks ago, I saw Daniel talking to a lawyer. My heart started beating faster. A lawyer? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. I stared at her. Jazz. What kind of lawyer? I don't know. Then Lisa reached into her purse. She pulled out her phone. But I took a picture. I looked at the screen. It was blurry. Jazz. But I could see Daniel standing outside an office building. Beside him was a man in a dark suit. Lisa zoomed in. I didn't know who he was at the time. I stared at the photograph. Jazz. Then I saw the sign on the building, Harrison and Cole. Family law. My stomach twisted. Family law. Divorce, custody, Porty. The questions started racing through my mind. Jazz. Why was Daniel meeting a family lawyer? Why was Sarah involved? And why did they need me to sign something? I looked at Lisa. I need you to do something for me. What? Find out who that lawyer is. She looked nervous. How? I don't know. I leaned closer. But I need to know everything. Lisa nodded, then she said something that made me freeze. There's one more thing. What? Jazz. The lawyer's office isn't just about divorce. I waited. What else? She looked directly at me. Property law. My heart sank. Property, the house. Suddenly everything connected. The papers, the house. Jazz. The divorce, Sarah, Daniel. It wasn't just about leaving me. They wanted something. Something that belonged to me. And if the message was true, they were convinced I would sign it over willingly. But why, Jazz? What did Daniel know that I didn't? I returned home around 4 in the afternoon. Daniel wasn't back yet. I walked through the house slowly. For the first time, I looked at everything differently. Jazz. The furniture, the photographs, the paintings, the kitchen, the living room, the house itself. My mother had bought this house 20 years ago. It was the only home I had ever known. Jazz. When she passed away, she left it to me. Daniel moved in after our wedding. We had spent years renovating it. I had always considered it our home. But legally, it was mine. At least, Jazz. That's what I believed. I went upstairs. I opened the closet. At the back was an old wooden box. Inside were my mother's documents, birth certificates, insouciance papers, paternity records, Yaz. I hadn't looked at them in years. I pulled out the house documents. I started reading. Everything looked normal. Until I found something, a paper I didn't recognize. I read it once, then twice. Yaz. My hands started shaking. It was a property authorization document. My name was on it, but I had never signed it. I sat down on the floor. My heart was pounding. There was a signature at the bottom, Jazz. It looked like mine, but it wasn't. Someone had copied my signature. I stared at it. Then I understood. Daniel wasn't simply planning to leave me. He had been preparing to take control of my house, Jazz. I felt sick. I picked up my phone. I wanted to call him. I wanted to demand an explanation. But then I stopped. No, not yet. I put the document back. I took pictures of every page, Jazz. Then I placed everything exactly where I had found it. I closed the box and I waited. That evening, Daniel came home at 8:46. He walked through the door, smiling. "Hey, beautiful." I smiled back. "Hey, Jazz." He kissed me. I almost pulled away, but I didn't. I needed him to believe everything was normal. "How was your meeting?" I asked. "Long. Did you eat?" "Not really. I'll make you something." "I'm fine." He walked past me. I watched him, then he stopped. "You okay?" I smiled. "Of course, you seem quiet, just tired." He nodded, then he went upstairs. I waited 5 minutes, 10, Jazz. Then I heard the shower. I went into the kitchen. I stood alone. My hands were trembling. But this time, I wasn't afraid. I was thinking, if Daniel had forged my signature, then someone had helped him, Jazz. Someone who knew the paperwork. Someone who knew the house. Someone who had access to our personal information. And then I remembered something. Sarah, Jazz. Sarah had helped me organize my mother's estate after she died. She knew everything. She knew where my documents were. She knew the house was mine. She knew how much it was worth. She knew every detail, Jazz. I sat down. The realization was almost unbearable. My best friend hadn't just betrayed me emotionally. She may have been helping my husband take something that belonged to my family. I opened my phone, Jazz. I looked at her name. For a moment I wanted to call her. Instead, Abby sent a message. "Hey, are you free tomorrow?" Her reply came almost immediately. "Of course. What's wrong?" I stared at the screen, Jazz. Then I typed, "Nothing. I just miss you." 3 dots appeared. Then "I miss you too." I smiled, but there were tears in my eyes because I knew something she didn't. Jazz. The woman she thought she had betrayed was sitting right there, and she had no idea that I was already beginning to uncover everything. I put the phone down. Then I heard footsteps. Daniel. Jazz. I quickly locked my screen. He walked into the kitchen. My heart stopped. I looked at him. Sarah. His face changed just slightly, but this time I saw it. Fear, real fear. Again he smiled. "Sarah." "Yes, why?" I shrugged. I told her I missed her. Daniel stared at me. For several seconds neither of us spoke. Then he laughed. "That's nice, Jazz." But his voice wasn't relaxed anymore. He walked toward the refrigerator. I watched him, and suddenly I knew something. Daniel was afraid. Not because he thought I knew about Sarah. He was afraid because he didn't know how much I knew. That night after he went to sleep, I sat alone in the living room. I opened my notebook and I wrote one sentence. "Daniel is scared." Then I added, "Jazz, find out why." I didn't know it yet. The next morning, I would receive an email that would answer that question. An email from a name I didn't recognize. The subject line contained only 5 words. "Jazz, you need to leave him." And attached to that email was a photograph that would reveal the one secret Daniel had spent years trying to hide, a secret that had nothing to do with Sarah. A secret that would make me question everything I thought I knew about my husband. because the woman Daniel was planning to leave me for